Why is everyone so mean to me, huh? Huh? Why are you guys so mean to me? The minute I showed up in Hiyori Mokami's birthday stream, everyone was just like, haha, let's clown on Yuno. And now even in my own chat with my own audience, everybody is like, let's clown on Yuno. She's cuss words. I'm a lady. I am a lady. Do ladies cuss? Well, actually, ladies do cuss. Ladies are allowed to cuss if they want to. They're allowed to do what they want. But, like, come on now. Haha, Onion, shut up! Anyways, Hanaki, did you know that our souls are connected by fate? What do you know? I'm Yuno Hanaki from production Kawaii's Hanamizuki. Good evening, welcome to Fictitious Friday. I have to fix my donation goal. I love being prepared. Also, I am probably going to have to step away in a few minutes because one of the things that I was sorting out with Oni Mama was that she wants ice cream. So, literally ordering ice cream in the middle of stream. It'd be like that sometimes. So anyways, I'm setting up an ice cream order right now. But we can still have a lively discussion about today's topic. Hopefully. That's fine. Thank you for understanding. I feel bad having to step away for any period of time. So, you know. Figured I would just get it out of the way. But for the record, it's because Oni Mama wants the ice cream. Okay, she wants, like, a chocolate chip. I guess that... No, Chocoholic Chunk is probably chocolate ice cream, right?
An offering. Thank you so much.
An offering. Ice cream money? Thank you! I appreciate that. How was the girl talk? Girl talk went good! Me and the girlies talked about a lot of topics. Hope you get yourself a treat also. I am. Oni Mama is very considerate in that anytime she wants to order something, she always makes sure I get something too. She doesn't really like doing things where just one of us gets something. So when she was like, I want ice cream, that's basically her inviting us to both get ice cream. Girls only stream? Yeah, but it was fun. It was a fun time. There were actually some girls. Can you believe it? There were some girls. Chocoholic Chunk is probably a chocolate base. Coffee chocolate chip. She wanted like a vanilla ice cream with chocolate chip in it. Maybe I just do scoops of vanilla and then I see if I can add chocolate chip. I can only add chocolate chip cookie though, but that's not the same thing. Real girls? That's crazy. I've never seen a real girl before. Well, not until that stream anyway. But there were girls. I was so pleasantly surprised. I do love girls. Hi, welcome in. Okay, let me finish figuring out this order. I'm gonna go with coffee chocolate chip because I do know that Oni Mama likes coffee ice cream. And it has the chocolate chips in it that she's looking for. And then the other scoop will be vanilla. Vanilla. Okay, so that's Oni Mama's ice cream, and now my ice cream. Now the ice cream for the Buono. Why are you taking notes? I appreciate it though. You gotta pay attention to the flavors. Yeah. Okay, so I want this. That could be good, but I don't want to go overkill. I wasn't intending to get ice cream, so I should probably be a little bit tame. I will not go full ham today. I will resist for now. For the record, I was debating if I wanted to add cheesecake pieces to my ice cream, but I think I will chill. I think I will behave. Okay. This Oni cannot be tamed. Well, this Oni can still restrain herself in certain situations. I can't always overindulge. I gotta be good sometimes. Okay. Order placed. It said 14 to 24 minutes, so I guess we have a little bit of time. Got a little bit of time. It's pretty close to our house, so I don't think it'll be too long. But yeah. Nice game, Orbird. Sorry, I realized I'm talking in my usual off of stream gibberish. You're getting a peek behind the curtain into my off-stream gibberish baby talk that me and my friends tend to do. Anyways. Hi. Hope you have had a good Friday so far. Not to shill, but I hope you guys have been supporting Hiyori Mokami for her birthday. We're probably going to be rating her stream after this one, because she is going for 24 hours, and she's got fun activities, lots of stretch goals. Make sure that you check it out. Donate if you feel able to. Remember, Streamlabs is free. Streamlabs is like basically free, so you should take advantage of that. I was lurking. I spoke up when I saw her shrink Kaya's PNG, and then they dragged me in, and then I couldn't escape. Deliberating getting pizza, and by deliberating, I mean checking if I can afford it. I hope you can afford it. Pizza good. Free Streamlabs donos? Yeah, they're free. They are so free. Especially for Hiyori Mokami. You guys should support her. She's got a lot of cool goals and a lot of cool things that she's doing for her birthday. Not even just the karaoke relay, but like she's put a lot of work into this. And not to imply anything, but I told the girlies this, so I guess I should tell you guys this.
More than I anticipated. Thank you.
Anonymous, thank you for the $80. I guess we hit the daily dono goal. Oh, I meant to tell you guys, I haven't added a disclaimer to this, which, my bad. I am going to be... Maybe we'll start this next week because I forgot to do it this week. But maybe starting next week. I'm going to be offering little prizes for consistent meeting of the daily dono goal. That's not in effect yet. Because I forgot to do it at the start of the week. But I guess we could count it now. I haven't figured it out with management yet. I'm supposed to discuss with management what I think would be doable for consistent daily dono goal meeting. We're going to be offering you guys little treats, little prizes for consistent meeting of the goal. So keep that in mind. Going forward, I will be working on that, but it's something I have to discuss with management to figure out like what would be doable and like what I could feasibly offer and like to what amount of consistency. So we'll see. It's still kind of up in the air. That's why I didn't set it up yet, but this was something that I did insist on wanting to do to make up for the quantity reduction. Just so you know. Just so you're aware. Anyways, what was I saying? Right. I was telling, I told the girlies this during the girls only stream, but for the boys who are now finally allowed back in, you may or may not see somebody involved in something for Hiyori's birthday. You should pay attention. You should watch it. Winks with both of my eyes. So, you know, yet another reason to be paying attention to the Hiyori Mokami birthday activities. Make sure you pay attention. Also, just because she deserves it. I am very proud of my kohai. I care about them very, very much. So I do my best to advertise. Winks with both eyes. Why are you blinking at us? That's the joke that I say because I can't really wink with my model. I have it set so that my eyes always blink together. they like blink and sync. Technically, I can disable that feature, but the way my eyes work, it would look like I'm squinting, and it would also probably look like one eye is always closed, which would be a little bit silly. But I have my eyes set to blink at the same time. Like, if one closes, the other will close, so I can't actually wink. Yeah, my blink is synced. Sync blink. So that's kinda the thing. Anyways, you should pay attention to the Hiyori Mokami birthday stream. Particularly tomorrow night, you should pay attention. Smile. Well, I mean, you can pay attention tonight, too. Smile. Which eye is it synced to? Both. For those of you unfamiliar with how facial tracking works for 2D models, the reason you have to use an iPhone is because iPhones have an AR kit that's like really, really good for facial tracking because they have the whole Face ID thing. So they have a better job of like registering facial features. I have the iPhone pointed at my face, and then what it does is it pays attention to where my eyes are, and then my mouth, and a little bit of the rest of my face, but mostly my eyes and my mouth. In other people's live 2D rigging, they can have it set to register other stuff, like cheek puffs, so you can get like puffy cheeks and like pout. That's also why some people can have tongue rigging, because this feature does allow you to track your tongue as well. So like if I were to stick my tongue out and my model had tongue tracking, my model would stick its tongue out, so I could be like, bleh, pero, eto bleh, but I cannot. So it registers activity from both eyes, basically, because it registers the whole face. I thought all of those things on other VTubers were toggles. Well, they used to be toggles, but as the technology has evolved, it has become possible to do things like actually tracking the movements of a tongue. Granted, all it can do is stick out, and then, but that's like still pretty advanced from where it was in the beginning. Hanaki, welcome, welcome. Yeah. But that's, the more you know about, tracking technology. But long story short, I have it set so that it registers if either eye closes, both of my eyes will blink. So it just looks like I'm blinking. If I have that feature turned off, the blinking becomes a lot more sensitive, and it looks like I'm always just blinking one eye first, and then it's, like, not really synced up well, and it's kind of weird looking. It looks kind of silly. So, for me, at least, and for, like, my current setup and everything, it's just better to have, the auto blinking on, or, like, the synchronized blinking. It's not auto. Technically, you can also set it to auto blink if you just don't want your eyes to be tracked like that at all, but I don't think I need to go that far. Avoiding the lizard blink? Yes. I am a Oni, not a lizard. I do not want to be seen as a lizard. Am Oni. Big stretch. Okay. Oh, cool. They're in the process of picking up the ice cream. Let's go. Okay. Well, I guess we'll start talking about the topic a little bit. We will talk about the topic a little bit to make up for the nonsense of me waiting for this ice cream. Would an Oni and a wizard of sufficient power be nearly indistinguishable? I think a wizard would be more powerful than an Oni, personally. I think wizards have more access to magical knowledge and actually get, like, direct training for their magic. A lot of the magic that the Oni have, they do not fully understand. At least within my universe. Like, it's something that is inherently part of, like, Oni society, but it is also not fully understood. That's why a lot of things that they have experimented with have not always worked out. Don't you take that tone of voice with me, young lady? Well, see, that's the thing. We have to define tone before we can really start, talking about how to, like, use it effectively in writing, right? Oni magic is more blood traits through family lines. Oni magic is tied to... well, okay, some Oni do have magic through, like, their family line. Other Oni receive more magic through special ceremonies and rituals that, like, allow them to become more powerful. Kind of the idea of, like, going on a pilgrimage of sorts to, like, obtain more power. So, like, as was the case for me, I... presumably did get powers when I received my tattoo that made me a half Oni. The thing is, within my lore, I have not fully untapped what all those powers are. I know, as the creator, I know what the powers are in my head. But, Yuno, the character, is not fully aware of the power that she has. Tattoos, are just one way that this can manifest. There are, like, other types of, like, magical items and things that you can get that would probably grant you more power. Specifically within Onigashima, though. But my personal thought is that wizards probably have access to more direct magical items and also just, like, magical learning tools, so they have multiple different mediums for magic. I feel like for the Oni, it's a lot more just intrinsically tied to nature. While wizards, I think, can create magic styles. Does that make sense? Because I feel like a lot of the Oni are kind of tied more to nature and the elements. Such is my opinion. Such is my thought process. You're spoon-feeding Buno lore and I'm hungry for more. I mean, hey, we're at least getting something done in a Fictitious Friday, right? Even if I haven't fully gotten to the topic of tone yet. Okay. So, when we're talking about tone in a literary or narrative sense, it's important to distinguish the difference between tone and mood. I feel that, some people confuse them a lot, but that's because they do have a lot of similarities to them. But if we're going to talk about tone specifically, tone is usually the apparent attitude of the author, while the mood is the emotions that the author tries to evoke from a reader. So tone is something that is usually just caused by how the author views things. Like, this is something that would be kind of difficult for an author to fully control. But, like, it's usually shaped by an author's, like, lived experiences and, like, their general point of view when it comes to telling their story. Meanwhile, mood is something that is intentional and done to, evoke a certain emotion and also to, like, get you to, like, see the scene in a particular way. I thought those two were interchangeable. They are very, very similar. A lot of people, confuse them a lot. And that's okay. It gets kind of confusing. But this is the difference. The ways that they are similar is that they can often influence each other, and they both rely on specific word choices and details. And they both are often described within a piece of literature using adjectives. So adjectives have a big impact on how a tone manifests in a story. The mood of a scene is different from the overall tone of the narrative. So part of the reason why this was brought up as a potential Fictitious Friday topic, I was about to say Onimon, it is not Monday. My god, it is not Monday. It is Friday, Budo Banaki. Okay, what I wanted to say is, though, the reason this was brought up was because somebody was curious how you balance, like, lighthearted moments with an overall serious story. And a lot of that will come down to, like, word choice and, like, how you focus on the emotions you want to convey for your narrative. Just Oni Fry. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's Oni Fry. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. So, okay. Oh, the ice cream is about to be delivered, so we will pause the direct discussion for now, but... Yes, you guys can call it Oni Fry if you want. Oni Fry sounds delicious. The people have been campaigning for an Oni Fry for so long. I guess in my head I think of them like strategy and tactics. One is overall goal, the other specific steps towards the goal. Practically speaking, I can't keep aware as I write. Yeah, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, there's an obvious difference, but then when you're actually writing, you kind of forget. You kind of forget about it. It just goes, Pachoo! So no, I get you. Oh, ice cream's here. Okay. Be right back. Be right back. Do not set the chat on fire while I'm gone, okay? If I see a singular fire emoji that is not one of the Damadachi, I will bonk you. Okay.
May the Oni lights guide you back to me. May the Oni lights guide you back to me.
Guys, what did I say? What did I tell you? Why is it on fire? Bruh. Disappointed but not surprised. Disappointed but not surprised. I should have known better. Also, yeah, wow, 6 months. That's crazy. Well, thank you for being a member for 6 months. That means a lot to me. Okay. You know your little guys? I do. That's why I am not surprised by your actions. This is fine. Is it? Is it, though? Why do you always insist on burning the house down? Why are you like this? Ice cream. Don't say daily dose of disappointment. I like you guys more than that. To be fair, it's only one guy. Are you sure? I'm looking. I see other people posting the fireballs. It is not only one guy. Committing insurance fraud for more ice cream money. Tamagotchi, you would do that for me? You would commit insurance fraud so I could buy more ice cream? Really?
That's the best.
2 guys? No, I see 3. I saw 3 guys. You see how much we sacrificed for you? I do. I understand. Would you do it for us? Insurance fraud? I think if I said anything like that on stream, I would get bonked. I start to say the word yes, and the stream just immediately dies. And they're like, this channel has been banned. And management's like, what did you do? And I'm just like, trying to tell a joke. We can possess an ATM? You absolutely can. Also, thank you for just saying ATM and not ATM machine. But yeah, for legal reasons, no. But I am winking. Man, it was really warm today, so this ice cream is actually hitting the right spot. I know what the M stands for. I feel like most people don't. Every time I see ATM machine, I die a little bit, but I have also said that before. The one I am most guilty of is PIN number. And I hate myself every time I do it. The ATM machine. The ATM machine, no. Well, I mean, at least you're still technically getting it right, but stressed. Insurance fraud in Minecraft? Wow, I can't believe the one reason I will ever open Minecraft is specifically for insurance. No, I shouldn't say that. I could still get bugged. I have to be careful with my dry, sarcastic humor. You never know if the freaking YouTube analytics people are gonna choose this stream to look at and be like, why is she talking about this? Hi, Yuno. Hope you're doing good. I am. I got ice cream. So I am winning. Onimama liked her ice cream too. She's never tried this flavor from this place before, but she took like one bite and was like, this is good. She was very happy. Moira said to tell viewers this is a joke. Yeah, exactly. What flavor is it? The one that I got? Chocolate cake batter. So it is a chocolate ice cream that is made kind of like rich and like milky, creamy. And it kind of evokes the feeling of eating like chocolate cake batter. It's really good. Chocolate, why am I not surprised? Yeah. I am a little bit of a chocoholic. If you haven't caught on to that about me by now, I would be surprised. But I do usually choose, like, chocolate flavors. I think I've said this before, but my favorite ice cream flavors are ones that are, like, chocolate-focused or, like, cake or cookie flavors. That's why I always talk about getting cheesecake pieces in my ice cream, because I really like cheesecake chunks in my ice cream. Or brownie chunks. I like brownie batter flavors, too. Chocolate is just really good. Must have missed that you were chocolate oni somehow. I like chocolate. It's delicious. Chocolate is my second favorite. My favorite is cookies and cream. There are a lot of people within the Damadashi base that really like cookies and cream. I think the last time we talked about ice cream flavors, almost everyone said that they liked cookies and cream the most. Or cookie dough. Personally, I am team cookie dough over team cookies and cream, but I do like both. But I like cookie dough because I like the doughy chunks. I feel like with cookies and cream, you get less chunks. Well, you get more like crunchy chunks. But I like the chewy chunks. Chocolate for me, based. You're so real for this. Solid chocolate is just really good. But I'm very picky with my chocolate ice cream. Because, like, sometimes you can tell that it's just a vanilla base that was mixed with chocolate syrup. And then it's like a not really good chocolate. I like it when it's like a proper chocolate ice cream. Do you know what I mean? That is what I prefer. But it is delicious either way. Did you know they made a ranch flavor ice cream? You should have brought that up during the weird food stream. What the frick? Ranch flavor? I mean, okay. I guess because ranch is kind of like a... I don't want to call ranch like a creamy thing, but it is like a form of a creamy thing. And I guess like the sharpness combined with like the cream-esque vibe would kind of make sense, but I don't really like ranch, so I don't think I would like the I don't think I would like the ice cream. However, I would try it at least once. I would try it just to see what it's like. I'm much more willing to be a risk taker for things like ice cream, because I feel like once you put something in an ice cream format, it's a little bit more tolerable. Still no seafood, though. No one will pay me enough to try it. Oh, so it would be a very high asking price for you? That's fair. I would try a little bit, just for funsies. I don't really like chocolate ice cream on its own, but I really like it when it's combined with other flavors, like in a Neapolitan. That's fair. I do really like the combination of chocolate and strawberry. There was this burger place that I used to go to a lot, and they had like really, really good thick milkshakes. I love a thick milkshake. And one of the best flavors was their chocolate-covered strawberry one. It was literally just a mix of like strawberry and chocolate ice cream bases with like extra hot fudge to like simulate the covered strawberry, and oh, that combination. I love chocolate and strawberry. I miss that milkshake. I wish I could get it. Every time I think about wanting a milkshake, I always think about that milkshake specifically. If I wasn't in the mood for strawberry, I would also usually get the hot fudge, which is basically the same thing but only with the chocolate ice cream. But that chocolate-covered strawberry milkshake was to die for. So good. And you could get french fries by the bucket there, so you had like a literal like bucket of fries that you could share with people, and then like those really thick milkshakes. Mmm. Yummy. On the subject of mixing things up, I seem to never be able to maintain consistent tensing while I write. I hear how I want something to sound and go with it. Oh, that's my pet peeve. That's my pet peeve as an editor. I hate when people can't maintain their tenses. Obviously, the other thing I hate the most is like spelling and grammar mistakes, but like you have to maintain your tenses. The only reason it would be okay to switch tenses is if it's part of like the actual narrative you're trying to tell. And also it would have to be like a clear split. Like you would have to have scenes that are purely in one tense and then maybe switch scenes and use a different tense. But even then, I hate it. I'd rather you split it between chapters if it's a long-form narrative. Can't stand it. But that's why I'm an editor. I'm really good at making sure that these things get ironed out, and I'm just like, do you want past or present? Make up your mind. Tell me now, so that I can correct your entire story. But, like, look, I say this, but I'm also guilty. Sometimes when you are telling a story, you just cannot... You cannot escape from using the past tense to describe something. It just doesn't make sense if you try to keep it all present. But, you know. All forms of time, you can be omniscient, but not in terms of, like, the time in which you're telling the story. Being omniscient is different! I'd go crazy. I feel like sometimes it's so unnoticeable it's allowable. Like I said, there are some times where you can't avoid it, but like... I do think you should try to be consistent, because like, if you notice it, third parties are going to notice it. As in, like, your readers are going to notice. People will notice, is the problem. The people will know. Also, I'm sorry, we will get back to the tone of discussion proper, but I am holding in on this ice cream. Well, I'll be done soon. I'm like about a little more than halfway done. I can't tell you how often I send mistakes I see in a Kindle book up to the author. You are so valid. Although usually the issue is more so with the editors. I try to give a little leeway for writers, because when you are in the midst of writing something, you're not going to notice your mistakes. You're just not. I often encourage you to just like write without thinking about spelling or grammar in the first draft, and then polish it after. Like, polish it after your writing session. Like, come back to it, and then, like, polish it up. Well, no worries. Enjoy your food. But yeah, I always encourage writers to just, like, write what inspires them in the moment and not care about it in the moment. Because if you focus too much on the spelling and grammar and stuff in the moment, it will take you out of the scene you're trying to write. You can go back and fix it later. And then also, it is your editor's responsibility to, like, point out the bad stuff. So, like, obviously you don't want to submit something that looks like absolute garbage, but I give writers a little bit more leeway than I do their editors. If I see a book that gets published with, like, very egregious spelling or grammatical errors, I'm just like, that editor messed up. And also, editing and proofreading are two different jobs, so if your editor doesn't catch something, and even the proofreader also doesn't catch something, then you know there's a problem. I have worked as both an editor and a proofreader, so, like... I've been on both sides of that coin and been like, how did the editor allow this? And then as the editor, I've been like, how did the writer do this? I'll accept some things, but there's some mistakes that just throw me all kinds of off. I'm the same way. Sometimes if there's a really bad mistake, I'll just be like, ugh, this is literally unreadable. I pull a Charlotte Taylor Suzu, but like in real life. Literally unreadable. And then I will like stop reading because I'm mad. And usually I blame the editors and the proofreaders because I don't really think it's the writer's fault. Typos will typo. But it makes me so mad when they miss something that's like so obvious to me. I get it. I think I'm the opposite, where I can find most of those mistakes charming or a nice laugh unless it's constant. I think it's different when you do something like this as like part of your career versus like seeing it as a consumer. I think like a general reader will see like a mistake in a book and be like, oh haha, that's silly, can't believe that slipped through. But like when you have worked in the field or you have like a lot of experience in the field, you see it and you're just like, come on, man. This is something they taught you in like English 101. Get with the program, bro. At least it's how I feel about it. Okay. I finished my ice cream. Since we're tangenting, what's one mistake you caught that made you want to throw hands? I get annoyed when people don't know how to use commas. Some people will use and abuse commas like it is their life's purpose to never use a comma properly. Comma splices are something I am really, really good at spotting. Using commas poorly is that bad? If we're going to make this be about tone, yes. Here's the thing. Commas and periods denote when a reader is supposed to pause. A comma is the equivalent to a short pause, like you were taking a breath, but you are still continuing your statement. A period is a full stop, where you get the chance to actually digest what was just said before moving on to the next thought. If you use too many freaking commas in your sentence, there will be too many pauses, and it just makes you sound like you're stuttering within your narrative. How's that for a lesson on tone? That's why I hate it. So I pay a lot of attention to how often an author uses commas and if they use them correctly. I had a moment like that earlier. I was complimenting Kaya's art and I said, damn, you cooked, Kaya. I realized how it would have sounded if it didn't have the comma. Yeah, see, that's the most common example with commas is the let's eat grandma versus let's eat grandma. Is the comma supposed to go before or after the word and, but, or? So ideally, before. It is usually comma and, comma but, comma or. However, there might be circumstances where you could use it after, but that is usually because you are going to be interjecting a short phrase within your longer phrase. Hold on. I have to pull up. I feel like I can't do this unless I give you an example. So let me pull up a text box. Let me pull up a text box. This is so silly. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and change some of the coloration here. Just preemptively. And then... You know, it's cute, smart, and wiggly. That's me. Yeah, that's ideally how you would use the commas. It's as a list. Let me make this, like, I don't know, size, this size? Sure. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So, I'm going to move this box so you can see what I'm talking about. Make it a little bigger. Okay. So, here's the thing. If you were talking about the, I believe they're called conjunctions, yes? And, but, or. So, ideally, when you are using them, you use it as a list or to connect two phrases, either an independent and a dependent clause or two independent clauses. Rarely will you be connecting two dependent clauses. Welcome back to English 101. So I'm gonna think of like a random example here. Okay. Sorry, I know it looks too big. I'm fixing it. So this is an example of when you would traditionally use a conjunction, right? You would use Yuno likes chocolate, comma, video games, comma, and writing. So and is the conjunction, right? Now, the only time that you would use a comma after the and is if you were going to interject with a dependent clause. So, using our example here, it would be if we said this. So, it would be if we said, Yuno likes chocolate, video games, and surprisingly, writing. We have a pause there, because the surprisingly is an interjection. It's like a secondary thought that is being, a secondary, like, additive to the overall sentence. But sometimes this can get a little bit clunky, especially if you were to write a longer one. So this example could then be, Yuno likes chocolate, video games, and, to the surprise of no one, writing. It can get a little bit clunky when you have interjections like this size. So you can have your commas be after the conjunction, but usually it's because you're interjecting with something. And then it has to be closed between two commas before you get to the rest of the sentence. So let's try a whole new sentence to get that idea across. Sorry, I'm coughing. Such is life. Okay. So let's try... let me think of another example sentence. Alright, so, however, despite her best efforts, Yuno couldn't explain commas. This isn't an example that is fully using a conjunction, but this would be an example of a time where you'd have a comma before and after your clause. So, however, despite her best efforts, Yuno couldn't explain commas. So, if we took out despite her best efforts, you would still have an independent clause. Despite her best efforts is a dependent clause that only adds to this sentence. However, we could get rid of it. So if we didn't want this part here, we could just get rid of the despite her best efforts, and we would still have a independent clause. However, Yuno couldn't explain commas. Make sense? And then, the thing that I hate the most in this world is something that is called a comma splice. So a comma splice is when you use... It's basically when you use commas too much, or you use commas in a way that doesn't properly break up the sentence. If we go back to what I just wrote, but like specifically to the version that had this... let's see. I'm trying to figure out where I could put it. I'm thinking of a good way to do this without making it too obvious. Maybe I should use a new sentence. I'm thinking. Alright, so maybe if we take away the however comma, which is shocking for me because I usually say however comma out loud. If we did something like this, right? However, despite her best efforts, Yuno couldn't explain commas. Not only is the pausing awkward, but that means that we now have two dependent clauses that are not properly connected. We are now stuck with however despite her, which has nothing attached to it, and then best efforts, which is just like a nothing statement. And then we still have our independent clause of Yuno couldn't explain commas, but like this beginning part adds basically nothing because of how it is framed. Because the commas make it look a little bit icky. But basically, a comma splice is when you incorrectly split up clauses so that they are no longer separated the way that they should be. And that is something you want to avoid when you are writing, ideally. Because since commas dictate where readers should pause, you will no longer understand. It doesn't come across as clearly. I'm guilty of speaking that way. Well, speaking is different from writing. It's okay if you speak kind of like that. It's more so... If you write like that, it makes your writing difficult to fully understand. If there's one thing I hate about comma rules, it's the Oxford serial or Chicago comma. I hate those so much because every class of papers wants something different. Yeah. So the Oxford comma is the one that does the comma and. Like in a list, that's the one that uses comma and. If you don't follow the rules of the Oxford comma, you technically do not have to have a comma before the and. So if we were doing a list, you could technically do... If you wanted Oxford, it would be A, B, and C. If you were not using Oxford, it would be A, B, and C. Both are correct, but it just depends on the style guide that you are following. I believe this is Chicago. I don't entirely remember. As long as you aren't doing oration or doing official presentations, there's no actual rules for how to talk. Yeah, exactly. So if you talk a particular way, it's fine. But when it comes to your writing, you want your writing to be clear. I was raised with non-Oxford and I wanted to fight my first time I got docked for it. That's fair. I do think that they should be more open with how they want you to use things. Why does English have to be so convoluted? There's just a lot of different style guides. I could probably do an entire freaking Fictitious Friday or You Notebook on, like, different style guides. But no, I do agree. Getting docked points because you didn't know that you had to use the Oxford comma is very messed up. I think this is the difference. Honestly, style guides are still a mystery even to me. But yeah. Technically, both of these are correct. It just depends on the style guide that you were being told to follow. Anyway, long story short. I think most people learn comma and, comma but, comma or. As part of, like, the connecting with the conjunctions. So, that is generally the best way to approach it. Unless you are told to use a different style guide where you don't have to. Long story short, to answer that question, both are true. This has been a writing lesson with the Buno. These are all things that can dictate your tone, though. Because it talks about how narrative tone is usually, like, based on kind of formality. If you're using a lot of, like, big words, for lack of a better term, if you're using a lot of advanced vocabulary, let's say, or if you are using a lot of periods, or I say periods instead of, like, exclamation points or question marks, that makes your writing come across as very, very serious in tone, very mature. Meanwhile, also this applies to contractions. So if you say things like cannot or does not instead of can't or doesn't, that will cause your tone to come across very, very formal. That's why in a lot of school papers they will tell you to avoid contractions, because contractions sound too casual. However, conversely, if you then use a lot of contractions, or you use things like question marks or exclamation points to kind of like add an artificial sense of inflection or excitement into the text itself, then that comes across more casual. One of the examples I found when I was kind of researching this earlier was the difference between the message, "Do you have a minute to talk?" Which is very formal. Then you have "got time to chat real quick," which both of these are questions that ask the same thing, but one comes across as more formal and more direct, while the other makes it seem way less serious. That's kind of how tone balancing works. Got a sec? Yeah. Got a sec is also its own kind of like ambiguous vibe, so to speak. Yeah, yeah. And then there is message now. Which could technically go either way, depending on how you know the person. If you're getting that kind of message from your boss, then you're like, oh, I'm in trouble. If you're getting that from a friend, you could think that it's anything from, like, super serious to, like, message me now, I have to show you a meme. That's kind of the fun thing about tone, I guess, is that, like, you can read it multiple ways depending on your relation to the speaker and just kind of, like, the overall environment that you're in. We need to talk. No! Don't say that to me. Don't say that to me. I will literally cry. You can't say that. You can't do that to me. What do we have to talk about? Are you mad at me? No, are you mad at me? About that thing earlier? What thing? No! You're doing a good job. Thanks. Thanks. There's quite a difference in between surprisingly and to the surprise of no one examples if you're already aware that Yuno is a writer, like it's meant to be snappy. Well, I was trying to think of like a slightly longer phrase. Tonally, yes, there is a different vibe between them. For that instance, though, we were focused more so on the commas. But yeah, surprisingly implies, like, genuine surprise. To the surprise of no one is, like, a very sarcastic, like, oh, wow, Yuno likes writing? Shocker. Does a setting that largely has old-fashioned speech get ruined if there's also characters speaking more modern? I don't mean slang inclusion. Does the tone of a story get ruined? If it's speaking, there are no rules. Let me put it that way. I think that tone is more so affected by the narrative descriptions versus what your characters say in their dialogue. Something I always tell my writers when I help them out as an editor is a lot of the rules that we put towards your descriptions and like everything else in your story does not apply to dialogue, because in dialogue people do not talk like how they write. Writing natural dialogue can be very difficult for a lot of people because they assume that they have to make it match the overall tone of the story. You really don't. Characters talking, like, their dialogue itself can go against all the rules. You can go crazy with, like, abbreviations, you can go crazy with, like, lots of slang, you can make them talk very casually. It's everything around them that affects the tone more so, in my opinion. Dialogue has a lot more freedom. Because you want your characters to sound natural. You don't want them to just mirror your voice too much, because then it's not going to feel like an actual creative character. Tone and mood are more of how the exposition and narrative handling is done? Yes, I would say so. Well, I think mood is kind of the thing that's more so affected by dialogue, but I feel like dialogue is a separate thing from the rest of the narrative tone, if that makes sense. Aren't commas also used for appositives? Yes, they can be. It can be related to apposition, but not like... That's kind of what I mean by, like, an interjection when I was giving those examples earlier. It's like, so an example that I found when it came to apposition is, let me open up my text box again. So this is the example that shows up when I Google it. I'd love to learn how to type someday. Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Where'd my box go? Box, where'd you go? Box? Box! Oh no, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Here we go. Okay, so if we're going to talk about apposition, so we have Edison, comma, the inventor of the light bulb, comma, is America's greatest inventor. So this is kind of similar to what I meant with, interjecting, like, separate thoughts. That's what an apposition is. The part that is the apposition is the stuff that's in between the commas. So if you were to take that part out, you could say Edison is America's greatest inventor, and you would have a full sentence. It would be an independent clause. The inventor of the light bulb is in itself a dependent clause, but it is also additive to describing who Edison is for people who do not know him. So, you can put commas around it in this instance as well. But generally speaking, the point is that, like, the thing that is in between the two commas is usually going to be a dependent clause. It is very rare that you will put another independent clause in between here like this. Usually, if it's going to be an independent clause, you could maybe end it with a semicolon. That's something else that is kind of a pet peeve. I feel like people don't know how to use semicolons, or they forget semicolons exist. But yeah, technically, the thing that is in between the two commas is almost always going to be a dependent clause that is usually additive towards one thing or another. This is the first time I can recall hearing the term appositive. Today I've learned even more. Welcome to a very educational Yuno Hanaki stream. Let me know if I'm talking about stuff that's too boring, by the way. I'm very much an English nerd, so I love talking about this kind of thing, but I hope I have not bored you guys too much. Let me know. Okay. But yes, you would be correct that you could also use it in that instance. I teach English, yippee! I love and support all of my English teachers. You guys have it rough out here. I don't know how to use semicolons. If a sentence doesn't work with commas or periods, I try again with other funny words. Okay, so if we're gonna talk about semicolons, I'll be very brief about this. A semicolon is a way to connect two independent clauses, generally. That's how I tend to use them. It's because it's like both a stop, but it's also combining two things together. Let me see if I can get a good example. You can also have a... What is the term? Preposition? I guess it's a preposition, kind of. You can have a prepositional phrase come after the semicolon as kind of like a transition of sorts in between the two independent clauses, but... Alright, let me think of an example. Yuno likes chocolate. She also really likes writing. So these are two independent clauses that are connected by the semicolon, because you use a semicolon if you are writing two independent clauses that go together. These are both things talking about what Yuno likes. You cannot connect two independent clauses with a semicolon if they are not at all related. That's where the preposition comes in. So you could say, Yuno likes chocolate. However, she doesn't like chocolate cake. So this is still related to things that Yuno likes, but it is providing the however comma to explain that there is something she doesn't like despite liking chocolate. Like, even though she likes chocolate, she doesn't like chocolate cake. So it's still related to the initial independent clause, and if you take away the however comma, you still have another independent clause. That is how you use a semicolon. Most people, if they don't know how to use a semicolon, will just do, Yuno likes chocolate. And then they will do, she also really likes writing. Which is not wrong, but because you are using periods, you are causing full stops, so it feels very stilted. You are not inherently wrong for doing this, but as a note to the overall tone, the overall tone of your narrative, it's going to feel very stilted because you're still talking about things that are related to one another, but you have them separated. Conversely, if you wanted to not use the semicolon for the second example, you could do Yuno likes chocolate. However, she doesn't like chocolate cake. This would be a better use of something without the semicolon, in my opinion. I say semicolon use should be restricted to using when you feel you must include another clause without a new sentence. Pretty much you don't need to force its use. I don't think you need to force its use either. However, I do think that some people, I feel like ideas can flow a little bit better if you use a semicolon because it is not as direct of a pause. If you look at punctuation as a dictation for when you are supposed to pause while you are reading text, I think that a semicolon helps you connect your ideas together a little bit more smoothly, and it leads to you pausing for less time. However, I do agree that there's nothing inherently wrong with not really using semicolons. I use them, I think, more than the average writer because I like them, but I don't think there's anything like, say, you have to use a semicolon or you die. I just think that they're a useful tool that people kind of forget exists. Because they think it's too complicated, but it's really not. You ever think how what you were saying would look if you had subtitles? It depends. If you are thinking about the subtitles, like how it would look for your dialogue, they would probably look... It depends on the style of subtitle, I guess is what I want to say. There's a difference between a subtitle and a closed caption. It's all about practice. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Whoops. Didn't delete all the sentences. Bye-bye. I'll probably try to use the semicolon in the second sentence just because I would want to not use the capital H in the middle of a statement. The semicolon does look better. I feel like because the ideas are connected together, that's why a semicolon is effective. If you are going into a completely different topic, you cannot connect it with a semicolon. So, like, if we did Yuno likes chocolate, it's raining outside. Like, a semicolon doesn't work here because it's not inherently understood what the connection is between Yuno liking chocolate and the rain. So it does not work as clearly. However, I guess technically within the context of a narrative, if you had implied something about how Yuno's chocolate cravings tend to come out when it's raining, maybe this would make sense there. But generally speaking, you can't connect them like this. These are two very different ideas. Sounds like a description of some odd event. Yeah. So this is where you would not use a semicolon. You would just make these two separate statements. However, though, I guess if we wanted an example of where we could use this is, we treat this like a separate clause. You add a comma here. Technically, then, the semicolon would make sense, because you eventually bring it back to the liking of chocolate. So this says, Yuno likes chocolate. It's raining outside, and Yuno craved hot chocolate. I guess it should be craves, because present tense. See, I am also guilty of switching up tenses. Maybe is craving. I don't usually like, passive voice like this, but it makes sense here. When you're doing creative writing, you don't have to care as much about passive and active. But this is a way that you could use the semicolon and connect the two ideas. So, Yuno likes chocolate. It's raining outside, comma, and Yuno is craving hot chocolate. So, you have the understanding of, like, oh, it's raining outside, so it's kind of cold. Makes sense that someone who likes chocolate, like Yuno, would end up wanting hot chocolate. So in this instance, you could use the semicolon and connect the ideas, but you have to have more additive text to make it work. You can't just leave it at "it's raining outside" and then start a separate sentence. You're the culprit. I told you! I explicitly said that I am also guilty of changing up tenses. But I'm just also really good at catching it. The more you know. Yeah. Okay. The more Buno? I don't know if the world needs more Buno. Okay, let me get rid of this. Whoopee! Hope you are enjoying the English lessons. Okay, so like with tone, generally there are a lot of different ways that your tone can impact a narrative. Could you talk about the tone of a book or series to demonstrate either consistency or inconsistency you've seen? Okay. I have to think of a example. So, I guess I'll go with a book series that I read recently, which was Wicked. I read 2 books. I've read 2 books in the series so far. I want to read more. I think there's 1 or 2 more that I would have to get my hands on if I want to do that, though. But I read Wicked, and I read Son of the Witch, or Son of a Witch? I think it's Son of the Witch. I think it's how you word it. That was like the most recent series I read. I would technically talk about The Magicians, but it's been a bit since I read the first book. Anyways, this is the most recent like series-ish that I read. The overall tone is very matter-of-fact, and it feels very formal. Which is because of the fact it's a parody. Now, when I say parody, I do not mean funny haha joke about thing. People have a misunderstanding about the difference between parody and narrative parody. So narrative parody, kind of falls into the line of, oh my gosh, what's the term? Satire. It's a little bit more satirical. The Disney stories? No. I'm talking about, like, the parodies of Wizard of Oz. No. Like the one from the musical Wicked. Sorry. Should have been clearer. No. I haven't been reading those. I have been curious about them, but I haven't read them. They're also all written by different authors, so probably wouldn't be the best for judging overall consistency of tone. Anyways. So, yeah, no, it's the books that the musical is based off of. The musical has a very different tone from the books. Anyways. So, to explain parody in this instance is it takes the way that the story was initially told, but it tells a different story, but it pays homage to that original thing's writing style. There was a writing exercise I had to do in one of the classes that I took, where we would read a story and then we would parody it by telling a similar story with like a similar premise that had the same kind of narrative beats, but it had a different tone because we approached it differently. It was not a complete one-to-one copy. That is kind of what a narrative parody is. I think that Wicked as a novel is kind of a parody and a satire at the same time, because it tells the story in a very like fairy tale way, but also in a very dry, practical way. The whole point of Wicked is that it focuses on like the kind of like the dark sides of Oz, you know? It implies that Oz is a very capitalistic class caste system society where everybody is like low-key like hateful towards one another and all of this stuff, and that like the witch Elphaba was actually like a really good, well, not good, but she was misunderstood. She was forced into the role of becoming a wicked person, and that like it basically justifies all of her actions, right? It's like taking a character that everybody saw one way because of the initial telling of Wizard of Oz, and being like, but what if she wasn't like that, though? But the story that is told is, like, very dry, and it has a very, like, dry, sarcastic kind of telling to it. She was made more tragic. I don't know if that's inherently true. I feel like rather than tragic, she is sympathetic. You understand that she was just kind of forced into this position because of the fact that people were scared of the fact that she was a green lady. Sounds familiar. People were scared of the fact that her skin was green. People were scared of the fact that she had very sharp teeth. People were scared of the fact that she seemed basically monster coded. And this led to her having a lot of experiences where she was purposefully, like, alienated or ostracized or outright ridiculed, despite being, like, you know, generally, like, a chill person. I don't think she was inherently mean. She had, like, tendencies that would cause her to be a little bit mean, but, like, only if she actually felt, like, offended. She was just really, really smart, was the problem a lot of the time. And she didn't really get a chance to develop social skills because her family didn't let her socialize with anybody. So that's kind of why that happened. Anyways, the overall tone of the book is very, very dry. It is very sarcastic. It's very matter-of-fact. I feel that there were not really a lot of exclamations. A lot of the questions were rhetorical. A lot of the exclamations were done out of sarcasm. The overall tone was dry, and I think that's because it is telling a story of a mythical place like Oz, which we know from, like, the more fairy tale-esque version, and it's, like, telling you the, like, very dry, not even mundane, but just the, like, the bad parts of it. Like, it's showing you that Oz sucks like any other country. Like any other place, it has its own problems. It's also a very political story. It's surprisingly very political. Both of the books are quite political when it comes to, like, the overall politics of Oz, which is kind of wild. Anyways, I think that the tone is pretty consistent between the two books. Even though we focus on a different main character in the second book, obviously because we're focusing on Elphaba's son. Spoiler, I guess. We're focusing on Elphaba's son, but I think that the second book is a little bit more lighthearted just because they imply that this kid is literally head empty, no thoughts. He doesn't have a lot of thoughts going on in his brain. At least compared to Elphaba, who arguably had too many thoughts in her brain. I also think in terms of differences, Wicked feels like it was more omniscient in its narrative. I feel like we had closer third for Son of the Witch. We've basically followed the son for, like, a majority of the book. And we, like, mostly saw his thoughts on things. We very rarely got, like, overall perspectives. It was always, like, through the lens of him. Whereas I think in the first book, we got a lot of, like, outside views of, like, the world outside of what Elphaba was seeing. And I think since the world was established in book 1, you can get away with doing that less in book 2, which is why you have a story that's more focused on just one character. I hope that makes sense. It's been a while since I've read these two. But it was, like, the most recent series that I read. If we're gonna talk about, like, a recent, just, like, independent book that I read, Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died has a very satirical tone, but in the opposite direction. She makes a lot of jokes and a lot of kind of, like, passive remarks of, like, the truly horrific things that she experienced. She makes a lot of jokes about it and, like, portrays it as if it is a lot lighter than it actually is. She tells the stories in ways where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe you experienced that, but then also she makes it funny. But it's in, like, a it's that satirical tone to it. Like, it has more of a jovial side without necessarily being happy. But you can tell that a lot of it is meant to be, like, kind of sarcastic, kind of snarky, like, kind of snarking at herself. Yeah, it's very dark humor focused, is a lot of the central tone. What a lovely title. I mean, hey, she means it. It's a good book. I would recommend you read it if you have any interest. It mostly appeals to people who watched things like iCarly in the past. Because it tells a lot of stories about, like, what her life was like due to experiencing, like, filming iCarly. And, like, and then, like, of course, her life before and after it as well. So you get to see a very interesting perspective. And there was, like, all of that stuff that's come out recently about the things that went on during Nickelodeon in that era. I'm not going to get into that because I don't feel like it's my place to. I'm not super educated. Go figure, both you and Nami recommend this book. I can't help help it. It's a good book. I have genuinely wanted to read it for a while. I'm glad I finally got to. I got this book for my birthday last year. Yeah, last year's birthday. Makes a lot more sense of the title. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, tone is also used really well in that book because, like, it's purposefully done to, like, make light of these very serious experiences and situations that Jeanette went through. But it also, like, like, you can't help but laugh because she does tell some, like, actually good jokes within it. It's also just, like, meant to, like, kind of make fun of herself for even putting up with all of this. And, like, of course she still, like, justifies herself, but she does it in a way that's like, well, obviously things were like this. It just makes sense. And that very much, like, shows the kind of, like, mental state that she had been in because of these experiences. Which I think lends itself to the overall impact of the book. Like how people use humor to cope with serious topics. I feel like she does it in a smarter way than that. Like, some people will just be like, haha, I'm sad. That's so funny. Who's the joke in this situation? Me. And that's not necessarily the same thing. I feel like the way Jeanette approaches it, like, with her use of tone, specifically is like... sorry, I'm trying to word this. I'm very bad at sounding educated on the fly. I feel like she is both justifying how she thought within those situations and, like, justifying why she handled it the way that she did, while also poking fun at the fact that she did it that way. She's poking fun at her past self for being like that, while also justifying her past self's actions. Kind of. I don't know how else to describe it. But I think that's how I would explain it. I think it's a double-edged sword of, like, acknowledging that she was wrong while also acknowledging she was wrong by making fun of it, or and then also, like, genuinely trying to, like, defend herself, or to, like, give some sort of, like, credence to her past self, sorta. Clarification. Preserving or bending a book's tone is impacted by characters' internal monologue. If it's a first-person narrative, I think that would affect tone. If it is third-person, internal monologue wouldn't really matter. I think if we are specifically talking about a first-person book, then you might have to be more concerned with your tone, but and also mood would become interchangeable as well. Because you are telling the story from the character's perspective, and then you have to also kind of acknowledge your own tone is going to affect that. Because even if you're writing in first person and you're trying to write in a voice that is not yours, it is still going to come across as your voice, your experiences. So your character is probably going to have elements of you within them, whether you want them to or not, because they are your narrative voice. You are telling the story through them. That's what I think, anyway. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. Recently, I feel more comic stories could use tone better. Too many stories now have to have the Marvel movie comedy in every single scene, no matter what is happening. No, I get you. The very, like, making fun of ourselves, but also thinking that we are hot shit type of humor. I get you. I know exactly what you're talking about. See, the problem is that people think that formula equals success. So that's why a lot of people are using it right now. People will see successful narratives and be like, ah, so that is how we are supposed to be telling our stories. And that's kind of how it ends up. But no, I agree with you. I do think that a lot of comic book media, I guess, has tried to have that like kind of like snarky, kind of like smarmy humor to it, and that's not always great. They want to have like really zingy one-liners. Like they want the zingers, but they don't know how to write good zingers is the problem. They're just trying to like throw all of the like fake self-deprecating and all of the like fake snark at the wall until something sticks and they think it's funny. Like it's telling you what you need to laugh at. Yeah, it's like pointing out what it thinks is the joke when that's not why people are laughing. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with having characters who make a lot of quips, but you have to actually A, make sure that the quips are funny and in character, and then B, you can't overkill it. There's a rule of threes in comedy for a reason. Little behind the scenes for the Hanamizuki comic that was posted during our 6-month. I did a little bit of consultation when it came to figuring out how we wanted to present the 4-koma, and I explicitly said that we needed to have a rule of threes for the comedy. Because you can't, like, abuse a joke or, like, have the same joke be the thing all the way through. A joke is only funny, like, 3 times in a row. A joke can only be funny 3 times in a row before it starts losing its charm. Yeah, if we're gonna talk about a character like Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man makes different quips throughout a fight, and also, like, there's spice to them. He doesn't make the same quip over and over. He doesn't find one joke and repeat it. He will find other ways to, like, quip and snark, and there's usually some form of, like, time, quote-unquote, passing between each quip. Like, the banter is there, but he, like, saves each zinger, and there's, like, a split of time. But it's important to say that, like, the rule of threes is that, like, you can only make that joke repeated, like, 3 times before it's no longer funny. Specifically in a row. I guess if you, like, make the joke and then you wait and then you make the joke again, that technically is not the same as the rule of threes, but there has to be variety. Spidey is specifically trying to annoy his opponent when other characters quip it to the audience. That's true. Although I think even some of Spider-Man's quips have started becoming Marvelified, in that it feels like he is quipping to the audience also. Maybe not as much as other characters, but I feel like his interpretation has started changing so that it feels like some of those quips are also being aimed at the audience. But yeah, like with the 4-koma, I always mention like rule of threes also in terms of escalation. Like, if you're going to tell the same kind of joke 3 times in a row, you have to escalate it each time so that it's not just the same delivery or like the same intensity. So we were all talking about, in the Hanamizuki half anniversary comic, right? We were talking about the weirdest things that we had eaten. So we started with Ron, who was like boba, but really big. which is considered a tame food, but it's the fact that she had a high quantity of it that was strange, right? And then you go to me, where I mentioned that the weirdest thing was eating human baby food, because I am an Oni and I'm not used to what human babies eat nowadays. I am more used to what baby Onis consume, and then the joke is supposed to be that I'm implying that they eat something worse, but that I don't want to elaborate what it is. So, like, the next step there is, like, yeah, baby food is weirder than a big order of boba, but it's also not super weird. It's just a bit strange. The joke there is the fact that I'm implying something about how Oni babies eat. And then the reason Kaya was last is because she had the most outlandish one, which was the blended Subway sandwich. So hers has the biggest impact of being just, like, outright bizarre, completely out there. And she's also the one who's going into, like, graphic detail about how gross it was. Which is, like, completely against the tone that me and Ron had where we were both really casually like, oh, you know, big boba, or, oh, you know, baby food. Meanwhile, Kaya's just like, they made me eat a blended sandwich. It was disgusting. It was literally, like, human torture. That's how you do escalation with the rule of threes, right? If we were to try to push any further than that, it probably wouldn't have been funny anymore. It would have just gotten a little bit, like, boring. Even if we managed to escalate to a fourth person having something even crazier than what Kaya ate, I don't think it would have worked very well as a joke. Example of tone impact is a third-person story, but POV may switch between characters that are on different places on the cynical versus idealist spectrum. Third person tone is not going to change because you are the author and you are the one that dictates tone. Mood might be different because the characters have overall different thoughts and feelings towards the scenes, the things that you are putting them through. Tone is not going to change because you are the writer. You are conveying tone. I will reiterate, you are the one that controls tone. The characters don't. The only reason a character would control tone is if it was a first-person narrative. Characters will control the mood. If you ever want a perfect example of good use of the same joke over and over again, look up the Abbott and Costello 7-28 joke. It just keeps snowballing. I don't know. I think Abbott and Costello's Who's on First is another good example. Third base! Well, that's just me. But there are ways to do it effectively, but it's based on, like, how you portray it and, like, the way that you kind of angle it. Who's on First is amazing. It's really good. They technically still do, not necessarily rule of three, but it's, they approach the same joke differently because they're trying to, like, figure out where the miscommunication is happening. Which I think makes it different, in terms of, like, a running joke. Makes you think of Whose Line Is It Anyway? That show is godlike. I do love that show. Sometimes whenever I am down, I will just watch a bunch of, clips from it. Yeah. Me with Scrubs? I love that for you. I've never watched Scrubs. Three Stooges? Man. I don't think I've ever actively watched a Three Stooges thing. I know who they are, but I don't think I've ever actively watched any of their stuff. Man. I have really had to rack my brain today. I hope that this has been educational. I know I said that before, but I'm gonna say it again. How the perfect slapstick back in the 1930s is amazing. I'm not super big on slapstick comedy. I don't mind it, but I don't really go out of my way to watch it. It's not my favorite kind of humor. Scrubs is great. Watched Three Stooges a fair amount as a kid. They did tickle a part of me. IRL Looney Tunes. See, that's funny. I do actually love the Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes are good. I think I've said this before too, but my other favorite style of humor is the Muppets. So I think that, I think the Muppets is kind of what has shaped a lot of my humor. They sometimes have very dry delivery of jokes, and that's part of why I find them so funny. It's also, like, very subtly, like, mature, like, adult humor. Which is something that I love as well. Who is your favorite tune? My favorite was always Tweety Bird. I love that little guy. Now that you mention it, I see a lot of Muppets in how you handle yourself. I am basically Kermit. I will not deny this. Sometimes a lot of my Tsukomi, I think, is just my Kermit. The influence of Kermit on my psyche. If you want a great tone handling show, watch MASH. That shows the example of from 0 to 100. Oh, you know what? That's fair. I never watched MASH, but I do know that. You can't say these things with me in chat. I mean, there are worse things in the world than being drawn as Kermit. My dream, if it could ever possibly happen, I don't think it ever would because I doubt the Muppets would ever interact with VTubers. But if I could ever actually speak to Kermit the Frog, I think I would cry. I think I would just have to cry. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I love him. I'm imagining you arguing with Kaya for the nth time and you slowly turn towards the screen, facepalm, and walk away. Sometimes the way that Kaya and I banter, I sometimes feel like Kaya is the Fozzie and that I am the Kermit. Sometimes I get, like, Fozzie vibes from Kaya. Although there's also probably a little bit of Gonzo in there. Gosh dang it, I'm sorry. Gosh dang it, I'm sorry! What do you want me to do? I'm just talking. Do you want me to just not talk anymore? I'll be quiet the rest of stream, I guess. I'll just mute, I guess. We need Yuno as all those Kermit memes. Please! I love Kermit memes. I'm honestly surprised when I did my memes showcase that I forgot to show my Kermit memes. I love Kermit memes. I literally love them so much. Please, if we could get Yuno versions of every Kermit meme, I would be the happiest VTuber alive. Truly. You have a whole folder of just Kermit memes? Of course I do. Of course I do. One Dat Boy Yuno coming right up. Dat Boy is a different frog. That's not Kermit. Just gave him a lot of ideas. I'm sorry! This doesn't mean that I have to be drawn. It's just, I'm just saying I do like Kermit memes. And it'd be funny and I'd laugh. You don't have to do anything. This isn't like something I'm asking you to do. Tomato, tomato. Shut up, tomato provider. We don't need this. Want a tat girl, you know? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's Dad Oni. Oh shit, what up? Trying to pedal a unicycle while wearing Geta would be literally impossible. You said it, now I have to provide. No! I mean, I appreciate it, though. If it's said on stream, you know chat takes it as gospel. I'm sorry, I didn't read it. I didn't read it. I didn't mean to. I still haven't forgot to make the Yuno multimeter. You stuck that permanently in my brain and it will surface.
When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
That's also just my life, I think. Honestly, maybe I was that kid.
When will you learn? Ohayou gozaimasu. Welcome, welcome.
Have I told you recently how much I love you? No. No, but that makes me kind of happy to hear. Thank you. I love you guys too. You're the best Budo around. Of course I'm going to reference Sammy Classic Sonic Fan. How could I not? That video lives in my head rent-free. But no, it does actually mean a lot to hear that there's been some stuff. Without going into too much detail, there's been some stuff, and it's kind of nice to hear the nice things. I don't want to get too gawky. That's gross. I don't want to be gross. But it's nice to hear it, truly. So thank you. I'm not gonna be tsundere about it this time. She loves us. I do! I guess I should try to say it more. It's not so much that I am shy about saying it, it's more just like, you guys tend to joke about the implications when I say it, and I feel like I constantly have to reiterate what I mean by the implications. Get gucked? Don't say it like that! Don't say it like that! Don't say it like that! Oh no. I do not joke about how much I love my Oni. I know it's not a joke. What implications? Oh, there's just sometimes that people will make jokes when I say that I love you guys, and they'll be like, oh, are you gonna marry us? Are you gonna marry us? Are we gonna get marriage? And I'm just like, no. Slow down. Slow your roll. That's not what that means. Do not speedrun. So then I get worried that people get the wrong idea when I say that I love you too much. So I try to keep it within moderation so that you just know. We're not going to see. Come on, my wedding planning. Stop. Man. It's okay. But yeah, no, I just, I do, like, feel it more, and I'm not necessarily afraid to say it. I just don't necessarily want people to, like, think stuff that is not true, I guess. I don't know how else to word it, but anyways. I will say that I love you guys when I do genuinely feel it, and, you know, like I said, there have been some things that I cannot necessarily discuss, so it's just kind of been like weighing on my heart a little bit. If a VTuber I watched asked to marry me, my answer would probably be no. You're so real for that. I wouldn't know what to do if a VTuber asked to marry me. Okay, well, technically, I'm in a different position as also a VTuber, so if a VTuber wanted to marry me, I would say yes, because we are VTubers and we can do that. It's different when it's a VTuber and a fan. It's different when it's a VTuber and a fan, I would say. 2 VTubers, though. This is a call to any VTubers. Hi. Hello. You as a VTuber are allowed many wives. I actually don't have that many wives. I have my wife, Ransukiha. And I do... Well, there was one other, VTuber that called me a wife. But other than that, I don't actually have that many wives. I am not necessarily a wife collector like Kaya. Although I think that's mostly because Kaya is very much a steal your girl person. So even if I wanted to get close to a girl, I feel like Kaya's already in her DMs and already calling her wife. She is on like a speed run to collect every VTuber. I am a bit slow, I guess. Kaya's just Kaya. Well, hey, being just Kaya seems to work for her. She does have a lot of wives. Kaya is a steal your girl, then near fumble, then steal again. I feel like even when she fumbles, she still manages to win somehow. She really do be winning out here. But I think a lot of girls are very pretty. I want to be smoother. Someday I will be smoother. It's okay. I am working on getting to know more VTuber girls. I will work on it. I will work on it. It's tough out here, but I'm working on it. You know who is pretty around here? Who? I'm always looking for recommendations for pretty girls. Ooh. I'm gonna state for the record, I love the Buno noodle and wish to study it so I can uncover the juicy secrets of its function and insights. Not the noodle! Look in the mirror? What mirror? I open up VTube Studio. That's me!
Wow, that's me. That's crazy.
Whoa. Can't believe I'm the pretty girl. Wow, that's so crazy. I can't believe I can talk to a girl. Wow. Buno. That's me. And Buno. They need to make... I feel like this wouldn't read very well as an emoji, but they need to make a emoji of a finger, like, pointing at yourself. To match the finger pointing at somebody else. They need one where you can point at yourself. Or maybe, like, a person that can, like, point at themselves or something. Just like, oh, me? Me? Because I want to reply with something like that every time someone does the point. Yuno reverse! You guys are the pretty girl now. That's what you Yuno reversed. Oh my gosh, girly, I thought that was just yesterday. No, you guys are the pretty girls now. That's what happens when you use the Yuno reverse. Now you're pretty girls. Well, in this context anyway. All warm and fuzzy now, don't know what to do with myself. So shy. Thanks, bestie. Wait, no, stop. You guys are so silly. Yes, you're pretty. You are pretty whether you are a girl or a boy, because boys can also be very, very pretty. You guys are pretty. Remember how I said I would give you affirmations? You guys are pretty. Damarachi are also handsome. You guys can be very funny. You guys are also very insightful. You ask me a lot of good questions and you let me yap about things that mostly only make sense to me. So I appreciate that I get chances to elaborate on stuff that I like with you guys. It's very kind of you. Affirmations for the Damadachi. Only the best. And I do mean it. It is not a bit. The timing of it makes it seem like a bit, but I promise the things that I say are not a bit. Boys can be pretty. Boys can be cute. I like hearing the Oni talk. Thank you. I like being able to talk to you guys. I feel like I've come out of my shell a lot since I started. I still have moments where I fall a little bit quiet while I think about what to say next, but I think I've gotten a little bit better at speaking off the cuff and bouncing off of you guys a lot. I think that I have grown and developed a lot as a talker, a rambler, a babbler, however you want to look at it. Thank you for the head pats. You are a natural at this? I don't know about that. I don't know about a natural. I'm getting there, though. It's part of the training arc. I know we're not technically at the end of my week yet, but, how did you guys feel about having all Zatsus? Did we like this? I know you couldn't be there, technically, for the girls only stream, but did you guys like this at all? Do you like Zatsu? Primarily Zatsu. Do the people like this? I am curious. Like hearing the Oni talk, a lot of fun, I liked it. It's okay, but I like having a mix. Naruhodo. This was something I had talked about doing before. I don't really mind talking about this. I don't think it's that big a deal. But there was always going to be a plan this month to have a Zatsu only week as like an experiment to kind of see how the streams went over. I feel like there wasn't too much of a change. Not particularly anyway. I think having lots of Zatsu is good because I do like Zatsu streams, but I do agree that having a mix is probably a little bit better. You do tend to still have stretches where you're quieter in your head a bit, but then you open the floodgates and babble. It's because I want to think about what I say sometimes before I change a topic. I do try to, like, keep the babble as consistent as I can, but I also think it's okay if it goes a little bit quiet for a short period of time while I think. I don't want to pressure myself to always be rambling. I think that there can also be value in silence. With games I can't quite be into what's going on, whether it's due to work or other stuff with Zatsu, I can listen and comment on stuff. That's fair. But no, I do agree that I personally like mixing it up a little bit. Sometimes playing a game is a bit easier on my brain as well, because I like to have very deep talks about a lot of the topics that I pick, and it takes a lot out of my little brain sometimes. So it's nice to have a little bit of variety where I don't have to talk as much. Kawaii's general audience are chatting stream enjoyers. I think that makes sense. We do have a lot of girls that can yap. We do have a lot of girls who excel at talking. And I get it. As somebody who likes to listen to the other girls talk, I totally understand enjoying those streams. I love listening to the other girls talk. I will often have a kawaii stream up on like the side and I will lurk and like listen to them sometimes while I'm doing my work stuff. Particularly, I like watching chatting streams, work streams, and karaoke. Those are usually the streams I find myself tuning into. I don't usually watch a lot of gaming streams. So maybe my personal taste as a viewer kind of also is reflected in my schedule. Because even when I pick games, I tend to pick games either where I can do a lot of voice acting, which is something else I'm passionate about, or where it's kind of like a idle, as in IDLE, game that doesn't require a lot of thinking. So then I also have an excuse to just ramble. That's why I like doing a lot of like comfy puzzle games and things like that, because it's just, I'm working on a puzzle, but I can also just talk to you guys while I work on the puzzle or something. I'm really picky on games I want to watch, especially with how many games I think I want to eventually play at some point. That's fair. I agree. I don't really want to watch a playthrough of a game that I eventually want to play myself, because usually with games I want to go in blind. So I get that. I get what you mean. You couldn't possibly be more real than right now. Thanks, man. But no, this is just how I've always viewed my viewing habits. And I feel like my viewing habits tend to be reflected in how I stream. Granted, I don't really do a lot of karaoke, but I do a lot of Zatsu. I did work with me streams. Probably not going to do as many anymore going forward, but those are also streams I like to hang out in. And then just regular old Zatsus. I love Zatsu topics. I love getting to chime in on whatever somebody's talking about in their Zatsu stream. Depends on the game, but I get the feeling. Yeah, it depends on the game for me too. This is going to be surprising, I think, if I admit this, but something I actually really liked watching for a period of time was Apex streams. I know that makes me sound insane because I don't play Apex, but you have to understand, sometimes an Apex stream is just a Zatsudon with Pew Pew in the background. Listen to me. You have to understand, sometimes it's just a group. It's just a little trio Zatsu in between Pew Pew. Look, okay, I don't want to play Apex, but I will watch Apex streams because sometimes the banter between people who are playing together is funny. I don't watch a lot of solo Apex. I watch mostly Apex collabs because I like listening to people banter as part of a team. Don't tell me you also know the strats and rotations. Not really. I don't necessarily pay attention as much once they start actually going pew 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 pew, but like in the in-between where they're like running around on the map and like getting all their equipment and stuff and they're bantering, I love that. Or if they're like telling stories while they're playing, I love that too. I feel like depending on who you're watching, Apex streams can have that kind of chill vibe to it. People will like leave each other alone for a long period of time. You come on the heirlooms. I told you I don't have Apex. I don't have it. I've never played it. I've never touched it. Don't be like this. I just like watching, okay? I think my first VTuber clip was an Apex clip. Me too. I think it was a Kanae clip. It was either Kanae or Kuzuha. I think it was Kanae though. I think. Yeah. I do know that the first clip I saw was a Niji Sanji VTuber though. It was one of those two. I don't remember which one. I branched out from there. I think the first Hololive clip that I saw was Suisei. It was either a clip of her singing during a karaoke, or it was like when she was showing off how really cracked she is at Tetris. I like Suisei a lot. I feel like that watching pro esports, I put that on and do something else. That's fair. Understandable. Yeah, I like to watch event streams too. That's the other type of thing I like to watch. I like outfit reveals. Sometimes, even if I don't know the VTuber, I'll just be like, oh, they got a new outfit? I want to see. And then I'll watch them debut a new outfit. I'm like, ooh, a soft rebrand. My favorite. Definition of somebody who just peeks in, sees a new outfit, leaves. CC is actually nuts at Tetris. I know! That's why it was so cool to watch. I'm pretty sure that was one of the first Hololive clips I saw. Like I said, it was either that or her karaoke, but I know it was Suisei. How does it feel knowing that there's a possibility you're someone's gateway to VTubers? This soon? I don't think so. Maybe a couple of years into my time in kawaii, when I'm a bit bigger, I will be somebody's gateway to VTubers. I do not think I am currently anyone's gateway. That'd be a very interesting thing to try and poll. I just feel like I'm so different from an ordinary... I feel like I'm so different from the average VTuber that it would be very strange if I was somehow somebody's gateway. Because I feel like they would then look at every other VTuber and be like, these VTubers are not at all like Buno. Gateway truck? I don't know about that. Doing high concentration stuff while also zatsuing and roasting people is high level discipline. I think some people said that during one of your vertical streams. They said that I was the first VTuber. I don't know if they mean like literal first. It might have just been like first VTuber they encountered jumping between shorts lives. Because I feel like there are enough people that know what VTubers are at this point. They've probably seen other VTubers before. We're talking about the idea of me being like the first VTuber that somebody actually watches ever. Which is a very bizarre thought to me. I feel like I would be more likely to believe it once I'm a bit bigger. Right now, I don't know if I would believe it. How will you react if you're told you are literally someone's introduction to the community? I'd probably cry, I think. Because I've always wanted to carve my own, like, space within the VTubing world, you know? I am intrinsically aware of the fact that I am very different from how a lot of VTubers tend to be. So sometimes I often feel like I am too different, and it makes me feel like I stick out a bit too much. But if somebody ever, like, discovered VTubers through me and was, like, inspired due to things that I make in any capacity, I would cry outwardly. That was something I put on my application. I've told, like, little bits and pieces of things that I put on my application for kawaii, but one of the things I said on my application was that I really want to inspire people to be creative, or to, like, pursue creative ventures, whether it be as a hobby or maybe even considering taking their creative venture into a professional capacity. Because I really vibe with people who can be creative. And I like fostering a community of people who can, like, express their own creativity. So if I could inspire someone to, like, pick up art, or to pick up, like, writing, or to pick up singing, or voice acting, or pick up an instrument, or, like, literally whatever, and decide to, like, devote themselves to it, either at a hobby or professional level, I would cry. I just would cry! What do you think my fan art is? I know! Don't act as if I haven't cried over your fan art before. Even if so much of it is memes. That still, like, means a lot to me. Because, like, I don't know, there's just something very surreal that people will listen to the dumb things that I say and then be inspired enough to make art out of it. Or, like, you know, even the serious stuff, like, if I bring up just, like, a passing idea and people are like, hey, I got this art because you brought up this thing. I'm just like, wow, people paid attention to what I said and were inspired to get a thing. That's so crazy. I love it. Too different? Have you seen some of these VTubers lately? Well, okay, see, what I mean by too different is that I feel like I am too chill? I know you guys are gonna be like, when have you ever been chill? But, like, listen. I feel that my interests and the things that I tend to stream are very quiet and calm in comparison to a lot of what VTubers normally do, which is trying to maintain high energy so that there's like high engagement and all of that stuff. I've never been one to care about all that. She said it before we did. Yeah, thanks. It's not as if I don't know. This is also something I said in my application. But I was straight up just like, look, I am a very quiet person. I'm a very, you have somewhat niche streaming interests. It's somewhat niche is putting it nicely. But I am a very chill person. I do not foresee myself doing things that are like purposefully, intensively high energy. I want to be the kind of stream that you can put on after a long work day that is like inspiring but also relaxing. I don't want you to come to this stream and expect things that are like me screaming at a pew pew game or me screaming at a horror game or something like that. I'm a lot more like mellow, I guess, or like insightful. Calling myself insightful sounds a bit egotistical, but do you get what I mean? I feel like I am just more of a deep thinker when it comes to a lot of my content, and I feel like that creates a certain vibe. And this is just kind of how I have been as a creator. But you would scream over anime boys? That's different. I'm not saying I would never be high energy or that I would never scream. But I think that if we were to look at the overall archive of my content, we could agree that it's all very low-key compared to some of the more intensive energy that other people have. And that's fine to have a higher energy and stuff. I just never wanted to, like, become something that I wasn't. I want to be that, like, the kind of streamer where, like, when you're tired from everything else, you can just put me on as, like, a relaxation period. That was something I was very outright about when it came to applying, because I was worried that that would be something that would not go over well, but I am glad that Kawaii decided to take a chance on me and that I am here and that I get a chance to try and be part of this. You're the first English VTuber I subbed to. Your past content ended up being topics I was interested in. I've just been watching JP Karaoke and Zatu streams before then. Really? I'm the first English one? That is a very high honor then. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Something only remains niche if there isn't someone to champion a cause. You're definitely a quality role model someone could follow. I don't know about that. Calling me a role model sounds so scary. I don't know about all that. I was very scared when we were told we were gonna be senpai, like, so soon into it. I was just like, what do you mean I have 6 kohai who are gonna think of me as a senpai? And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I am not the best example of a role model, but I am doing the best that I can. And I very much, I want to branch out, but still, like, within my tastes and what I feel my strengths are. I feel like my strength just lies in being a very low-key kind of creator. I do a lot of, simple stuff. I'll do, like, presentations on things that I like, obviously, and I will try to teach and educate about things that I like. But, I don't know. When I look at, like, the rest of what I do, and the rest of, like, what my brand is kind of turning into, sometimes I feel like I stick out among the sea of, like... Well, I stick out, more like I get buried among the sea of, like, higher intensity VTubers. Not to say that they are bad. I will reiterate, higher intensity VTubers are not bad. I just think that, my, content is a niche that I wanted to target because I feel like nobody targets people who are looking for relaxing content. But I then also want to, like, show that it's okay to want to pursue that kind of content also. And yes, I do work very hard, both on my stream content and my behind-the-scenes content. I'm doing my best. And I'm very grateful that people take a chance on me and try to branch out, even when I talk about things that are super niche. Like, the fact that you guys were actually able to participate in the Who's That Otome love interest stream made me very happy. Because, like, I wanted to make it fun and silly to, like, kind of introduce you to the boys, and then we'll actually have a stream where I tell you what they're actually like, and I will hopefully convince you, maybe, to play the game. That's a pipe dream, but maybe, maybe I will be the reason you actually enjoy Otome. Who knows? But I like that I can share these interests that are kind of niche, and that you guys are at least willing to give it a chance, even if it's not inherently, like, your thing. I think it's nice that, it's being given a chance. I miss both those streams. Guess I'll never be a real boy or a real girl. I mean, I recommend watching the Otome VOD at least, because when I do my eventual discussion of Amnesia proper, you might not understand what I'm referencing. I think you should at least try to watch the Wrong Answers Only VOD if you have time. That was a very fun stream. I'm so glad. I thought that it would be. I thought it would be fun. I want to do more things like that in the future as I start playing more Otome. I want to get, like, first impressions of all of the boys so that I could make silly videos that are like, my chat doesn't know anything about Otome games. Here's what they think all these love interests are like. Because I think that would be funny. Can't tell me what to do, I'll watch both. Okay. I hope you enjoy it. You'll have to leave a comment so that I know you watched them. I've heard of Amnesia and heard good things about it. I try to keep an open mind. That makes me happy. But no, Amnesia I do think is one of the more known Otome series. For better or for worse. 8-hour explanation is a bit much though. I was joking. It's not literally gonna be 8 hours. It's gonna be like 7 hours 59 minutes. I kid. I think at most it might get to 4 hours, maybe 5 if I get derailed too much by rambling. I don't think I could actually make it to 8. In an ideal world, I would've. In an ideal world, I would definitely yap about them for forever. But I don't want to give too many spoilers, because I do eventually want you guys to play the game. Ideally. But it will be a pretty spoiler-heavy presentation, just for the record. Mostly because I have to justify the cage now. I have to justify the cage. Among other things, which is very much like spoiler territory, but it'd be like that. I trusted you, you said it would be 8 hours. I wish I could, but I also think 8 hours would be a little bit insane. Not yet. I think 8 hours would be more likely for a game that has a bigger cast. The Amnesia cast is very small, which I think is both good and bad. Most other Otome games tend to have anywhere from 6 to 8 love interests. Amnesia only has 5. They have a very tiny cast. Although I kind of like that element of it too. Having a smaller cast means you get a lot more characterization, I think. Also, one of the things about Amnesia 2 is that you get to see a lot of interaction between the love interests. This is something I will be touching on in the presentation, but they all, like, interact with each other a lot. You get to see a lot of their, like, dynamics and the way they interact with each other, and it's really fun. Yuno's gonna whip out the red string and corkboard. I think if I ever get a 3D model, I do want to do a stream where I have a 3D corkboard with the red string, and I want to try and have like a very unhinged stream where I do something on the corkboard. I don't know what it would be. Maybe a really crazy like shipping chart or whatever, but I was thinking about doing something like that if I ever got a 3D model. Me begging management to let me use a 3D studio for this very stupid idea. Management, I swear. I swear this is a great idea. It'll be very funny. The people will laugh. Trust me. Trust me! Sounds delightful. I don't know if I'm prepared for truly unhinged Buno, but I'm willing to find out. Maybe someday. We will see. But I do think it would be very funny. Okay, do we have any last-minute questions about Tone? Any things you would like elaborated on? I think that Fictitious Friday has started to evolve into both me discussing my lore and also just giving writing tips. So this might just turn into a writing class. So, if you guys are okay with that, that might be what this turns into. Uno presents explaining the history of Tales spin-off games. Oh no. Tales spin-off games. My head. I like the tone of these streams. Thanks. Thanks, man. Very cool. History of Tales spin-off games sounds more like a Notebook stream because that's focused on like analysis. But I do like where your head's at. I could talk about Tales spin-off games. There are a surprising amount. Feeling the mood. Cool story, bro. Man. But yeah, I think this was a pretty productive discussion. It ended up being also more about, like, grammar, I guess. My bad. But grammar actually does have a lot to do with tones. That's why I had to talk about it. But yeah, I think this was pretty productive. I feel pretty good about it. I think, though, that I'm going to wrap up here for the night. You're actually going to see me again, though, relatively soon. If you are gonna be watching a particular Wolfbard stream. You're gonna see me again kind of soon. But I am at least going to be ending here for now because I need a little bit of a break before I do that. Jumping topics to topics like this makes it less of a classroom and more of a discussion board. Yeah, Fictitious Friday I always meant to frame as more of a discussion, like how Onimon is more discussion. I always wanted this one to feel a little bit more open for him, while Notebook is more just like a straight up presentation. Notebook is a straight up like, I did the research and I am showing it to you type of vibe. That's kind of the difference. Hope that makes sense. You will get more Notebooks in the future as well, though. I'm working on things that I can do for that. Thank you for fixing my comma dilemma. Of course! It was fun. I like getting a chance to talk about grammar. English stuff makes me happy. Sorry if that was a spoiler. Don't say that I spoiled it. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing up a little bit later, so shh, don't tell. Don't tell that I spoiled, please. Please. But that'll be in, like, a little while. So not yet, but later. But that's also partially gonna be why I'm raiding into it. You guys need to support Hiyori, okay? Give her all of the love and support that you can. But yeah, I'm gonna send you guys over there. Tomorrow, members, we're going to be having a movie night. We're gonna be watching My Oni Girl, which is apparently literally a documentary about me. I'm kidding. But we're gonna watch My Oni Girl because I saw trailers for it and I was like, oh my god, this looks so cute. I need it. So please look forward to that. I am very excited to experience that movie with you guys. Yeah. Our Oni girl. What is that meme? The one with the Bugs Bunny being like, our. That's us, for sure. I bet I'm gonna love her. She looks really cute. She looks like the type of anime girl that I would enjoy. But yeah, we're gonna watch that tomorrow in members. So if you are a Shadowfire or a Soulfire member, we will be watching that. I love that meme. I love that one too. Our Buno. Yes, ours collectively. Well, that'll be the plan. I'm also debating... never mind. Never mind. Maybe I'll share this another time. But I'm going to be posting my schedule for next week tomorrow as well. I already have all the thumbnails done too, so I'm going to be able to schedule my streams early. Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? Just got home, oh beans. Oh no! Oh, sorry. I am unfortunately wrapping up, but you're gonna see me again later in Hiyori's stream. But later, though. But yeah, we are gonna, you're gonna see the schedule early Saturday. Or, not early Saturday, early Sunday. I don't know how to talk. I'm sorry, my days are confused. I'm sorry. I'm trying. The time zone goofy. Anyways, that about does it for me. Thank you guys so much for choosing to spend your time with me. I hope that you have a good rest of your time zone. And until I see you again, Yunotsu! Wish Hiyori a happy birthday. Do it.